Live feed is launching, just so you know, Danny. I see you're on mute, though. All right. Record. We are recording. Live feed is launching, just so you know, Danny. I see you're on mute. And for those that are backstage, thanks for being here backstage with us. We're getting everything rolling right now. And get out your phones if you'd like to have this feed, this live feed sent to you via text. Text the keyword AutoConverse to 555-888. And I'm about to send this feed out to our SMS opt-in subscribers. We have over 100 people opted in now to receive text alerts from us on our live feed. And it's great. You have it delivered right to your phone, and you can watch it live if it's convenient for you, or you can catch the replay. And also make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, where we do all of our live streaming, doing multiple times a week, different shows, different programs, all throughout the week. And today is our live weekly show, AutoConverse on air. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my video there. Happy hump day. Happy hump day, everybody. Ryan Girardi here. Going to get started in just a moment. Just a moment, we'll be getting started. As you can see, we have Danny Adams joining us a little bit later in the show. Just wait another minute here and get going. And what's up, my backstagers? This is your first time backstage. What's cool is you get to join a little bit early, and you can chat with us. You can chat with us on the YouTube feed too, but here it's different. I could even bring you on the air with us. I could put your camera on. So haven't had to do that yet. Well, let's get going. Top of the hour. Here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to AutoConverse. You are tuned in right now to the AutoConverse on air Future Mobility and Connectivity live weekly broadcast. Today is Wednesday, October 2nd, and Wednesday, October 3rd. I'm your host, Ryan Girardi, and I thank you for joining us. We keep this show to about 30 minutes. We know that your time is valuable and precious, and we appreciate you taking the time to catch us here on our live feed, or maybe you're watching the replay, which is convenient as well. And for those of you listening to this on the podcast, we love you as well. As you can see, we have Danny Adams coming on in a few minutes. He's the founder of an app called GoFar, which is designed to help make driving better, which is delivering on the connected car promise of safer and more efficient driving. So this is an app that we'll learn a little bit about from the inspiration behind it, a little bit about Danny and the technology. And it'll be fun. It'll be good. So he'll be on here in just a moment. He's sitting. He's in the green room right now. Last week we were joined by Mike Phillips. He's the host of Lead the Team. Lead the Team live show and podcast is Mike Phillips. And Mike and I had a nice conversation extended around tools, technology, and platforms for podcasting and live streaming. Mike does a daily live stream on Facebook and YouTube called Morning Verses with Mike. And then every Wednesday and Sunday, he does a sales leadership stream where he has different guests on and talks about leadership and lessons and sales and whatnot. And he streams that on Facebook and YouTube. He's a master at this stuff. So if you are into, if you're into live streaming, if you're into podcasting, if you're thinking about getting into it, head on over to the AutoConversion YouTube channel. just go to autoconversion.net and look for the YouTube icon and look for that stream from last week with Mike and check that out. We also talked about the differences of streaming on both Facebook and YouTube. And we'll probably do that, have a conversation like that a little bit more frequently, just because there's a lot to it. And we appreciate Mike coming on to that as well. You can also wait for it to appear on the podcast soon as well. Now, yesterday, we launched 2 new shows. We have this new mastermind series. It's a set of regular virtual events that we're doing. Yesterday, we kickstarted the Auto Shopper Experience Mastermind that featured Terry Lancaster. He's the host of the Get You Some radio show, and Kathy Nesbitt, who's from Harry Robinson Buick GMC. And in that discussion, we really got into how the Auto Shopper experience is transforming. And Kathy, as the social media director, what she and her dealer do within their community for retention and adding value and enhancing that customer experience, both at the community level and within their process, their team meetings that they have. So if you're looking for some good ideas or inspiration around things you can do at your dealership, then again, go to the Auto Conversion YouTube channel and look for that stream called the Auto Shopper Experience. Again, you could also wait for it to come out on our podcast. And then later that day, we launched the self-marketing, branding, and social selling mastermind series. And we had Ken Potter on from Build-A-Brand. And Ken and I had a conversation about how to help your team grow, thrive, and be advocates for the dealership. And the Build-A-Brand app is a turnkey solution for dealers to help their representatives, their sales reps, manage relationships, build relationships in a branded, consistent, uniform way. So again, catch the replay on our YouTube channel. Now I'm going to share my screen, and just before we get started here, want to talk about today's sponsor. Here we go. Put that up there on my screen, which is Experian Automotive. So Experian's new dealer marketing intelligence platform is a revolutionary approach to marketing effectiveness, utilizing data-driven insights to help you unlock the power of your pure market potential. So you can bring the power of dealership intelligence to every advertising decision with the dealer positioning system. And you can now tie your dealership advertising, website analytics, and inventory information together with market and consumer data from Experian Automotive, helping convert into clear local market action plans that generate actual sales. Now, here's what we have going on with Experian. If you go to autoconversion.net, and I apologize, you can learn more about Experian by going to autoconverse.com/Experian. Now, if you go to autoconversion.net, look under masterminds that I just talked about. You can see the handful that we have here, and look for the Advanced Auto Retail Series. And in here, you can see that we have lined up next week on Tuesday. We have Matt Kaloshi and Julie Lawton coming on to talk about some data and some best practices around your purchasing your dealership name in pay-per-click advertising. So that's happening on Tuesday. And I'll mention also later in the show that tomorrow we're kicking off this series with Brian Miller. We're going to get into some branding tips for your vehicle photos on classified sites. So that's what's going on. Thank you to Experian, and we are looking forward to kickstarting that with them next week. All right, so in a few moments, I said we're going to bring Danny on. A couple of news items to cover. Unless you're living with your head under the sand, you know that the SEC's been on Elon Musk's back a bit. But they settled over the weekend with Musk and Tesla. The SEC settled their lawsuit. They had filed charges against Musk about Musk tweeting that he was going to take the company private. This happened a few months back. They reached an agreement over the weekend that will allow Musk to remain as the CEO, but he is required to step down as chairman for at least 3 years. And both Musk and Tesla are paying $20 million fines, sounds like a lot, but based on Musk's net worth, which is around $20 billion, supposedly, this is less than 0.1% of his net worth, this $20 million fine. So hopefully that puts that to closure. Musk is definitely likes to be, he's a media darling for sure. He's the Trump of the mobility industry, if you will. Also in the news, Daimler CEO Dieter Zeitsch, if I'm pronouncing that, is stepping down from that position next year. And the company announced that its head of research and development, Ola Kallenius, will be replacing him. Now, Zeitsch isn't leaving the company altogether. He'll be joining, he'll be chairman of the supervisory board. But here's why I brought it up. This change is significant because it shows how much is changing. Kallenius is the first non-German CEO, he's Swedish, to take the reins of the company. But what it is that he doesn't have a background in engineering, which most OEM CEs do. So what this shows is that the company is moving in a new direction to bring on someone that's more tech savvy that can help lead them into this new world of autonomy, connectivity, and mobility. So that's why I wanted to bring that up. But it's just another change. You know, GM refers to itself as a mobility company. And if there's any questions out there, people say, Ryan, why do you have a show about mobility? It's because automotive's a part of that, but how we're connected and how we get around is really it's just enveloping everything, even at the dealership level. And that's why we have guests like Danny coming on in just a moment. And finally, in the news, Honda and General Motors announced that they are teaming up to build autonomous vehicles together through GM's subsidiary Cruise Holdings. And as part of the plan, Honda will invest $2.8 million over the next 12 years, which will take a 5% stake in Cruise. So GM says the investment brings the unit's value to $14.6 billion, and the company's aim is to build autonomous vehicles for worldwide use. So other than that, no dates have been announced, but again, just one more development in the mobility and tech space. All right, Danny, if you're there, let's go ahead and bring you on, get your video going. And we'll get this, there's the man. Hello, hello.
Hello, how are you, Ryan?
I'm good. And thank you for your patience in waiting there. And folks, Danny is joining us here from Sydney, Australia. And what time is it there, Danny?
It's just clicked over 3 a.m. So,
man, I'm honored. I really am honored that you are here at 3 a.m. in the morning, your time, to be here. It really says a lot. So thank you.
No problem. It's my pleasure.
And look at that. I said taking about 10 minutes to get through today's announcements and news items. So some good stuff there, but hopefully it gives you an idea of the type of things we like to cover here. So Danny, I'm gonna share my screen and bring up the GoFar website. But maybe you could spend a moment and introduce yourself and kind of give us the elevator pitch about the GoFar app.
Sure. So, yeah, I'm the original founder of GoFar. We're now a team of 7 here in Sydney, and we are a connected car company. And our focus is on making the experience of owning and driving a car dramatically better than what it is today. And helping people save money on their actual driving, but also save time and money on the things that you have to do to keep your car running, to manage your car. So there are 3 parts to our product. We have our GoFar adapter, looks just like this, which plugs into the car's diagnostics port. And as you'd be aware, Ryan, this is something that's in all modern vehicles since 1996 in the United States. Then we have our very beautiful GoFar Ray display. Now, it's black, so it may be difficult to see in the video, but this little guy sits on the dashboard, and it gives real-time feedback to the driver in a very simple and intuitive way. And then we have our GoFar app, which brings it all together And if you can see what that looks like there, apologies for the cracked screen, but this brings it all together and delivers the user interface to the driver and delivers the data to the cloud. So we're now live in 52 countries.
Oh, wow.
And the USA is our second biggest market after Australia.
That's cool. How long have you been at this?
So I've been full-time on this since 2014.
Okay.
It's a hardware product, or part of it is a hardware product. So it takes quite a bit of time to get that right in development. So it's a few years at the job now.
I have to apologize. I forgot to share the URL for the stream on Facebook and LinkedIn, which I'm usually pretty good about. I got the text message out, so I'm just going to do that real quick. So 52 countries.
Yeah.
Since 2014, like you said.
Yeah, so, well, we that's when we started working on the hardware, but we released it just on 2 years now. So
Okay.
it hit the market in May, June 2016.
Okay. So I'd love to hear kind of what inspired you to build this. There's this aha moment of the world needs this app. What's the inspiration?
Well, it happened over a period of time, but in the early days, what GoFar brought together was two of my passions. One of those passions is cars, and the other is the environment. And those are two unlikely bedfellows, but this is a project that brought those two things together. Back a few years ago, before iPhones actually, and before accelerometers were in everything, I was playing with some technology to measure my quarter mile times and also measure horsepower output and these sorts of things with a car without a dyno. And I was really, really interested in that tech, but then I kind of realized that with what I was doing, there was a much broader application for it compared to just measuring quarter mile times, which is a pretty niche sort of thing. So I realized that there was an opportunity there to use the tech to actually deliver value to not just rev heads, but to all drivers. And that was the sort of start of GoFar. And initially we were looking at carbon emissions. So, using that technology to measure carbon emissions. And then looking at driver behavior and seeing how we can get the right information and the right motivation to the drivers at the right time to just make those subtle changes to driving behavior to reduce the fuel bill, right? To reduce fuel usage and ultimately reduce the cost. And in doing so, you're also reducing the environmental footprint, right? So if anything you're doing to reduce your fuel bill is also reducing your carbon emissions. And from there, it was looking broader at, well, once you have a connected car data set, then there are a whole other bunch of services that you can offer to people through the system and through the interface to just make their life a lot easier when it comes to managing their car. So it becomes a more inclusive kind of experience. And some of those things are around like servicing. We have a feature that we're trialing here in Sydney where when your service is coming due for your car, before you've thought about it, the system has already recognized that it's coming due and gone out and gotten the best quote for you and delivered it to you. And you're able just to book it in at the touch of a button and have a mechanic turn up to your house and get the job done. So it's like taking the sort of the annual chore of taking your car in to get serviced, having to think about it, to book it in, to hope that you're going to get the best deal. Just take all that worry away and just deliver it and package it up in a really nice, easy press of a button. So that's where we moved to with the platform. And in addition, there's a series of other services that we're offering, like mileage tracking. So if you need to keep a logbook of your work miles to get money back from the tax office, for example, you can use a product for that as well.
If you get money back from the what office? The tax office?
From the tax office or the IRS. if you're in
Okay.
the US. Yeah.
So you use the term accelerometer. That's the first piece of hardware that you held up. Can you hold that up again?
Sure.
Just want to kind of let me highlight this here. Pin video. There we go. Now, where does that go? Where does that get installed?
So this goes into the car's diagnostics port.
Okay.
So it's on all vehicles in the United States since 1996, and it's generally if you reach down to the lever that you pull to open the hood, you'll find the port right next to that lever quite often. So it's
any car in the world that was built post 96 has the diagnostics port.
In the United States since 1996.
Okay.
And then other jurisdictions brought in the legislation later. So Europe came in 2001, and Australia in 2006.
Okay. And then the other piece, I forget what you called it, that goes on kind of on your dash.
We call this the ray.
Okay.
And if you what I can show you is the actual. So this is how the product comes in nice. A beautiful shrink wrapped box, and you can actually see what the ray looks like there when it's in action, sitting on the dashboard, glowing a nice calm blue. Mm-hmm. We have a very iPhone-esque experience when you receive the product, and the unboxing experience is quite nice.
Yeah. And so that just flashes lights. So now I'm curious is how this actually works. So the accelerometer is passing the data. You have the app. So what is actually happening? It's about how you're using the gas pedal. It's also about the route that you take as well.
Yeah. So we have a couple of data sets that come together. There's with the diagnostics port, we're able to measure the engine conditions, so you can see what load the engine is under. And then with the accelerometers, we're able to track the motion of the car, so we can tell how the car is moving. And by putting those two things together, you can figure out what the sort of optimum way to accelerate is. And we just give that feedback in a really simple way. So when you're in when the ray is glowing blue, it means that you're in the sweet spot, basically. And as you move out of the sweet spot, it's going to start to tinge to a little bit of a pink. And if you're really, really hard on the throttle, it's going to turn an angry red. So it's just very simple, very intuitive. And it just sort of changes very subtly the way people drive. It also responds to braking. So it's just sort of reminding you around the braking performance. So braking less heavily is generally advised. And we've just added a new feature which we're really excited about into the ray feedback, which is to respond to local speed zones. So it can be set up to give you a reminder if you're exceeding the speed limit. And it's a really handy thing because there's no alarms or no beeping. It's purely visual. It's something you can see in your peripheral vision as well. Like when you're driving, you really don't need to take your eyes off the road. What I've found with using the product is that the speed limits, I sort of stop thinking about them in terms of numbers. And it becomes binary. It's either red or it's blue. You're either over or under. And if you hit the red, you just naturally lift your foot off the throttle a little bit, and you're back in the blue. So it's a really great way to manage your speed.
I feel like I should have done a little more homework because there's a term would this classify as a diagnostics tool or utility? Is that how you would classify the technology?
So it would fit in that category. And in fact, it's one of the other functions of the product. If there are problems with the car, you're going to get a push notification on your phone that's going to explain what the problem is to the driver. So it's like having a mechanic friend, but it's a mechanic in your pocket. That's
Sure.
going to make sure that you're looked after. Because a lot of people, unless you're in the car industry and unless if you are a mechanic or if you've got friends who are mechanics that can look after you, it's a pretty daunting experience for people when they have a problem with their car. So we really aim to soften that experience and make that a bit more pleasant by being the mechanic friend in your pocket. And I've got a great story about one of our users who bought a second-hand car. It was a Fiat. That was his first mistake, is buying a Fiat. But he bought it from a dealer second-hand, and it wasn't working the way that he thought it should. There's a problem. He wasn't sure what the problem was, but it just wasn't going the way he thought it should go. So he took it back to the dealer, and he had it back there several times, and they it's luck of the draw with the dealer, right? They palmed him off. But then he got the GoFar and got a push notification within about 5 minutes of driving that explained what the problem was to him. And then he was able to actually get it fixed. So that was a good outcome for him and helped him out a lot. And I think, from a dealer's perspective as well, there's a way to gain a level of a relationship with customers through this kind of product and through this sort of platform and this transparency that doesn't exist today, because there's a lot of skepticism, I think, with people, as I mentioned, unless you're in the car business, unless you know mechanics and you've got someone that can look after you. I think there's a lot of mistrust from drivers. So I think we have a product here that can help to bridge that gap.
Yeah, there is, and not just mistrust, but cars are so complicated, you can barely really work on them yourselves. A couple of things that came to mind while you were talking is that, autonomous cars are going to handle things like this fuel efficiency for you. And don't cars have these diagnostics information built in, especially newer cars that come out? So is a tool like this, is there an advantage for the consumer to have this tool, even though the car has this information and the dealer and the OEM?
Well, so the car has generally some of the newer cars will have a subset of this information. But it's up to the OEM what they want to provide to the driver or to the user. So it will depend on the vehicle, the make, the model. It will depend on the brand. So what we're able to provide here is a consistent experience across brands. So it doesn't matter if you've got a Hyundai or if you've got a Mercedes-Benz. The experiences and the services that are delivered are consistent. So it doesn't make any difference. So otherwise, what will happen is you'll have Hyundai that will have a certain system that will work in a certain way, that will deliver certain things, and then you'll have a Mercedes system that will be completely different. And generally, quite often people will have multiple brands of car in their family driveway. So this is a way to bring it all together in a very consistent, user-friendly.
And the fact that you're not going to have the same car forever, so you get to bring that information with you from car to car. Like you said, you could even swap it in. You could swap it in, but if you're saying like a family, if you had the accelerometer in multiple cars and the Ray, does the app kind of have all the vehicle profiles in one account, or do you have to log in and log out to different accounts?
It does, and we're extending. So it does have multiple vehicles in the account, and we're also expanding that functionality so that it would seamlessly transition. So if you've got a family, as soon as you jump in and start driving a car, it's going to recognize you, and the data is going to find its way to the right spot. You're the driver, and it's a certain car. So that it's a sort of many to many in terms of the architecture. So we're working to expand on what we have today to make that seamless. I think another interesting aspect as well is just within that family unit, the transparency in the family unit. So it's, you can sort of have not be so concerned about your teenage drivers and so forth if they're involved in, or if they've signed into this platform. And
sure,
there's transparency in terms of both parents and kids not driving like a
Yeah.
lunatic.
Yeah. Well, cool, folks. Check it out, gofar.co, to learn more information. Of course, I assume, Danny, you just search for the GoFar app in either the iTunes Store or Google Play to get the app.
Absolutely, yeah. So you can just search GoFar, download the app, but you'll need the hardware, so the GoFar unit to get it up and running, and you can pick that up on gofar.co for $80. So you can flick it over to USD at the top and purchase in US dollars.
Gotcha. Go like that.
Yeah.
Well, very cool.
Complete unit at $80.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And as I mentioned, something we like to do as fun here is ask you what the coolest car is that you've ever driven. And when I did say that, you chuckled because you're definitely a car buff. So Danny sent me some photos. Why don't you tell us about the coolest car you've ever driven and why you like it so much?
All right, so this was a really easy question to answer because there's no competition here in terms of the coolest car I've driven. It's the Ford Falcon XY GT HO Phase 3. And this is an Australian muscle car, 1971. This machine comes from. And I had an opportunity to drive one of these things. A friend of my father's bought one, and I saw him when he first bought this car. He drove down the street, and I literally chased him down the street to go and have a look at it. And when I got down to look at the car, he threw me the keys and he said, "There you go, one lap around the block and don't hit anything." So, which I was amazed with. I couldn't believe he just threw me the keys to his new pride and joy. So I jumped in and took a spin around the block, and it was, I drove carefully, but it was magic. It's got a nice big lumpy cam. The thing's rocking side to side. You've got the shaker heading out the bonnet, so it was rocking side to side. It was a very nice experience. But this car has been this is my childhood dream car. So it's got a 351 Cleveland up front. The shaker, as I mentioned, the 5-spoke mags. It's a Mustang bred machine. 4 doors, which is an interesting one. Not such a common thing in the US. Mm-hmm. But this car was a car that was made famous in a race called the Bathurst. It's now called the Bathurst 1000, but it used to be a 500-mile race that was held in October each year. And this car was quite dominant in that race back in the 70s, which is where it earned its stripes. But this, I'd like to own one of these one day. The big problem is that the prices have gone crazy. So now to get one of these, they're selling at auction for up to $1 million. So, I'm going to have to save those pennies.
What year was it that you drove the car that your friend had it?
It was probably 97.
Okay.
Yeah, so well and truly an old car by then, but just a classic, beautiful machine. I just love it.
I thought I'd let you know you're getting some shouts out here from people tuned in on YouTube. A little bit jealous that you're of your accent and from Australia, I guess. Yeah. So you probably get that a lot when you talk to us US folk.
Yeah.
Well, Danny, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and sharing your story with us, and the app sounds great, and best of luck with you on the app. And we'll it definitely fits right into what we do over here, so we're happy to give it a little bit of the spotlight here.
Thanks very much, Ryan. Really appreciate it, mate.
Well, go get some sleep and stay in touch. Folks, we'll say goodbye to Danny, and then I'll just do some I'll just wrap things up with some closing announcements. Thank you, Danny.
Ciao.
All right. Well, that was good. And thanks again, everyone, for being tuned in on on the YouTube side. I see Mike's up there and Amanda. Let me go ahead and just to wrap things up here. I mentioned that next week we are, well, actually tomorrow. Tomorrow we are launching the Advanced Auto Retail Marketing Mastermind series. And I have Brian Miller coming on. Brian was one of the engineers, product developers, or product business, whatever, from the Cargigi side that was sold to eBay. So he spent some time at eBay, and he has an opportunity, or had a chance, to really see things from a different view than a lot of us are accustomed to. And one of the things he brought up in our discussion board is the over branding of images, vehicle images that are listed on classified sites. So Brian is going to come on tomorrow. We're going to have a conversation around some tips and ideas for how to better present your photos on classified sites. Again, that's part of the Advanced Auto Retail Marketing Mastermind series. And then next week on Tuesday, we have Matt Kaloji and Julie Lawton coming on for a live web chat about purchasing your own dealership name through PPC. So what is a mastermind? The whole idea of a mastermind is bringing people from the field, influencers, thought leaders, and whatnot, coming together on a regular basis to focus on specific subject matters, specific problems like the overbranding of images. And we have a webinar style virtual conversation around those. And like everything we do, we record it and we release it out onto the AutoConverse podcast, which if you haven't tuned into, definitely be sure to search for AutoConverse on your preferred podcasting app. So go to autoconversion.net, look under programming. You can see all the shows, podcasts that we have going on, and all the mastermind series. Each of them has their own sign-up page so that you can basically be notified when we have new and upcoming events that are scheduled, because we will schedule them at random. And then also under there is the calendar of events, which let's take a peek at. Here's the deal. If you go to calendar, okay, you can see we put in who the guest is. And then there's a link to sign up for more information. So again, Danny was on here today. And so you can see who we have lined up. Now, Digital Dealers coming up in 2 weeks. And then the week after that is Driving Sales and JD Power. I have those in the calendar just because they're so relevant to you folks out there. However, we are not attending. I'm not attending either conference this year. I've got some other things going on and just was not able to fit those in. So mainly because of all these events we have going on our side. So we won't be there, but I hope everybody has a great time. And just a reminder, we did give away our driving sales and digital dealer passes, but you can still get a discount. You can get a $200 discount from Digital Dealer using promo code DDAC on. And driving sales, I believe, is a $100 discount off your registration using the promo code AutoConversion. If you have any questions or problems with that, be sure to let me know. And that's it. Thanks again for tuning in. Next week is the 10th, and we have David Long coming on from Neyland. David is from the Delgron Dealer Group for many years and built the used car buy center there, and he's now redoing that, or bringing his talents over to the Nilo company. So David's going to come on early in the morning, special edition. I think we're going on at 9 a.m. Central next week, believe it or not. So thanks again to Danny Adams for being here today. We are going to go ahead and wind this show down and wish everyone a great rest of the day and a great rest of your week. Take care, everyone.